a wee bit of mindset, but actually we're on vitamin D and the association between that and mood. So if you find that, and do you know what, I've done a lot of research more recently into ADHD in adults, and it's more prevalent than would ever begin to imagine, and I've known that for a long time. I've known clients and I've said to myself, you have got ADHD, but it's being talked about more and more and more. And in actual fact, someone on Feel It Be last month said, I've been diagnosed with ADHD. What a relief. I knew there was something, just didn't know what. It was misdiagnosed, and she felt, reassured. And that's great, because that gives you something to work on when you can identify, and it helps a lot of people when you can identify it with something, and it does help a lot of people. It's not helpful for other people, but this particular person was, and I know other people, and I know somebody, and I know for sure, and it's somebody in my circle who has ADHD, never even been talked about before, but I know that that's the case. And anyway, that was just an aside. Some of the things I have written down here somewhere are ADHD and the connotations or the associations between that and emotional dysregulation, the inability to regulate your emotions, anger, frustration, poor memory. You maybe cry a lot, and you just cry for the easiest of things, or not the easiest thing, that's a poor choice of words, but cry very easily, where somebody else might not. You get very, very excited for things, but it can change very quickly. Very, very excited, but then in the next breath you could cry, but then in the same breath you could recover quickly from the cry and then be excited again. Impulsivity, impulsive thinking, self-soothing, an inability to self-soothe. So for something to happen and for you to have a response to something and be unable to self-soothe, that as a combination of things, this might speak to you. Have difficulty refocusing your attention. Perhaps maybe even working on your goals is really, really difficult, and you can think of something, but you can't seem to work towards it or ever achieve it, because it seems to get in a big mess. Maybe have problem remembering things, poor memory or retention of things, or a limited working memory. So that might be that might resonate with some of you, but that's just some of the things I was thinking about before. I thought, I'm going to speak about this because I've never touched on it before, but I definitely know it is much more common than I would give it credit for, or have given it credit for in the past. I'm not diminishing it by any means. Right, vitamin D3. Why, you might ask, have I put a lot of money, time and effort into branding my own supplements? Why did I not just white label it? Look, get somebody else to make it, get them to stick it in a clear bottle, or a bottle like this with no branding on it, and stick my label on it. Because a lot of the stuff out there is absolute garbage, that's why. And I don't trust the stuff out there, and I don't trust the manufacturers of the stuff out there. And I don't want ingredients in there and things like, or ingredients that could work against you working towards optimal health. And in that I mean binders, fillers, bulking agents, emulsifiers, additives, things that are not natural. Any supplement that I've brought to our market is because they have been taken from Mother Earth and packaged up in the most clean, bio-efficient way for the human body. So this one, it's an advanced blend of vitamin D3 and K2. I'm reading it straight from the bottle for you. to support immune defences, bone health and general well-being. So on that note, the main ingredients are D3 and K2. They're really important for me that they go together, and I'll explain why in a minute. And I've talked for probably every month, somewhere along the line, about the importance of vitamin D. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means it needs bile to work with it to extract the goodness from it. A fat-soluble vitamin. And bile is the detergent for fat. You remember that, don't you? So without bile, we can't break down fat. We can't absorb the goodness from fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, K, vitamin A, D and K, for example. It acts like a hormone in the body because it's a communication, and it helps lots of tissues and lots of different functions in the body. And one of the main things it does is it stabilises mood. So linking that back to the previous topic there, ADHD, I actually believe a lot of mood disorders are instigated and actually are exacerbated because of a very, very poor diet. And I've been able to witness that for my own self. I've never done research into it myself, of course, but I've witnessed it for myself. When somebody is chaotic and they've got a lot of things going on, some of them I've mentioned, I look at their diet. Their diet is really, really poor a lot of the time. And that takes me back right to when I started my own business in Newcastle as a PT. I had this guy, and hugely chaotic, very, very talented in what he'd done, but hugely chaotic. And he got me thinking about this stuff, this mood and ADHD, even then. And I thought, yeah, there's definitely something. And obviously, I'm not on the job of diagnosing people, but I knew at that stage. But when I started to change this guy's diet, what I'm trying to say to you is, I started to see his mood level out. He became much more settled. His memory did get better. And as the years have gone on, I've just built on that. And I always tell you, anything that I've learned, I've practically applied it. And I've demonstrated to my own self and to my clients that it absolutely works. And you're witness to that as well. In fact, you are taking part in that. It's no longer an experiment. It was an experiment 20 years ago. We're now 25 years in. And so you are benefiting from the fact that I'm 25 years in this game and able to tell you this stuff, because I've done the work on it. So, yeah, where am I going with that? Vitamin D is one of probably the most important fat-soluble vitamins to support and, to keep your immune system healthy. Without adequate amounts of vitamin D, you're really going to struggle in lots of different areas, and mood is just one of them. I'm going to list some for you. So, sleep. You maybe suffer with insomnia, or you might get up through the night and, when your cortisol's kind of all over the place and you've got insomnia or you can't sleep, that's a good indication actually that you're needing some vitamin D. Please listen to these symptoms, and a combination of them might just be you. The cognitive part of your brain doesn't operate properly, if we could say that as a sweeping statement. So memory, the thinking part of your brain, trying to strategically plan and think about those goals and work towards that, doesn't actually happen to you like that. So that's maybe an indication. Always Alzheimer's, Parkinson's and dementia. When people look at the brains of sufferers of these things, there's always a vitamin D deficiency, usually always. Anxiety, memory, all of the mood stuff is what's the word? Dearie me, sorry. Is very strongly and closely linked to levels of vitamin D. Eye health. You need vitamin D for good eye health. You also need it for good thyroid health. And if you've got an autoimmune condition, and I talk about that quite a lot as well, so in terms of the thyroid, for an underactive thyroid, that would be called Hashimoto's. For an overactive thyroid that was autoimmune, which is 90% of cases, that's called Graves. And if that's the case, you probably need quite high doses of vitamin D. Like I've said to you before, if there's an autoimmune condition or a health condition, you probably need more of. And the test that you would get is a home testing kit, or you can go to a clinic, for example, and it's 25-hydroxy, and that's the test you would get to test for your vitamin D. What about your hair? If you were deficient in vitamin D, your hair would be brittle and you'd have less hair follicles. It might be dry. And in terms of your skin, in fact, no, go back to your hair, you might even have alopecia, an autoimmune condition, psoriasis or eczema or an inflammatory skin condition. Vitamin D is an amazing anti-inflammatory, and it could really pour water over a fire. For example, if your skin was very irritated, itchy or flaky, then this is maybe you. Sinuses. They keep vitamin D in your nose to protect you against anything that you breathe in. You have vitamin D receptors in your nose, and it protects you against all of the viruses that you're actually inhaling. But if you're low in vitamin D, then you might be exposed in terms of an immune response after that, because you've got the viruses that then affects your immune system. If your immune system's low because you're low in vitamin D, then you're going to feel like crap. And you might get viruses that keep coming back and coming back. And that's maybe an indication you need to sort this out. And I would suggest it is. There is a wee disclaimer in that though. If you have a calcium issue, maybe it's genetic, maybe your doctor has, you'll know if you've got some sort of health condition associated with calcium or calcium buildup. So you would need to speak to your doctor about vitamin D, because the last thing you want is to be mobilising calcium out of the intestine and putting into teeth and bones and basically your skeletal system if there's calcium issues for you. So that's the disclaimer there. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor anyway. See, before you start any supplement, even if it's from Mother Earth and it's totally natural, talk to your doctor, because there might be a contraindication that I don't know about medications that you take, or something that I don't know about. For the general population though, that don't have health conditions, vitamin D is a great shout. The thymus gland, very, very important. It's actually your immune system centre, if you like. And the B cells and the T cells, and what's called your innate immune system, what you were born with, and also your acquired immune system. So your innate system is what you were born with and you came into the world with. Genetics gave you, if you like. And your acquired immune system is what you actually acquire over the years. When you get dirty in the mud and you play and you build up immunity, then that's the acquired immune system. But the thymus gland plays a massive role in all of that. And if you're low on vitamin D, then it's going to seriously affect your thymus gland and its functions. And you might feel run down a lot, you might be tired a lot. And that might be an indication you're low in vitamin D. I never let myself run low on vitamin D, never, ever, ever. I wouldn't. It's too important. Good, did I mention eyes? I think I did. So if you're prone to cataracts, or there's glaucoma in the family, or dry eye syndrome, or macular degeneration, then please research vitamin D and the benefits of. Bones and teeth. Now you've often heard of rickets, the bowed legs, but also things like scoliosis, so like the curvature of the spine, or kyphosis, a bend in the spine, a big bend, and the lower back, like that lumbar spine is very, very curved. That's called lordosis. They're like malformations of the bones, maybe even soft bones. And it could be because there was a vitamin D deficiency. The role of calcium, obviously, is to make your teeth and bones, for example, strong. And what vitamin D3 does is that helps in the absorption of calcium out of the intestine, but the K2 that I very cleverly put alongside it helps in the transportation. So there is no good in absorbing the calcium from the intestine where it's just free to lie in amongst your arteries, because arterial calcification, or a build-up of calcium in the artery, could cause a heart attack risk, and often does. So you want to remove it, but put it into where it's needed. And K2 helps that. So I wouldn't be taking one without the other. D3 and K2. Absorb D3, transport, put it into where it's needed, K2. Flat feet is also another associated symptom of D3. Also, sore calf, you push on your calves, or a D3 deficiency can also mean like a sore back. So you get up from like a bent over position and you hold your back. Is that you? That could be a vitamin D deficiency. So there's lots of things in there. And basically what I'm saying to you is, this is so, so important. It really is. And you might think, well, Shelley, I don't want to take your supplements. I don't care about that. But I care that you get this information. This is a bonus. This is amazing. If you don't want to take it, you don't have to take it. You don't even need to listen to me. But I hope you do. I've also put shiitake mushrooms, a medicinal mushroom, and pumpkin seeds in here. They've all got amazing benefits. Nettle leaf and MCTs. So as a blend, it's absolutely fantastic. And after this, I'm going to put a little visual up of Boot Up and the ingredients that are in it, so you can actually see it. Get your eyes on it and go and research. Okay? It's great to take in the morning, but also at night time as well. Vitamin D3 will help you sleep. And I often take Recharge and vitamin D3 and K2, Boot Up. Recharge and Boot Up together. The adaptogenic blend in here, ashwagandha, coupled with D3, fantastic, they help me sleep. And magnesium in there too. So, I hope that's useful. Mindset. My mind's a wee bit all over the place just now, as you can probably imagine. Grief hits me really hard. Maybe I'll talk a wee bit about grief tonight, actually, just for 10 minutes. Because, you know, I front up on this camera most nights, most days, in some way, shape or form. And I'm not on here, I'm on Instagram, on stories, and keeping you going. And a lot of the time, it could be a front. And that's not to say I'm fake, that's just I want to show up for you to keep you going. But sometimes you need to see me feeling real shit and feeling grief, because you know that it's okay for you as well. So I was very close there to crying, because I feel it, and I feel it in my heart, and I'm really, really sad to read what I've just read. And I'm even more sad to think about the past, because there's some great memories there, family memories, when my dad was here and Kevin's dad was here and my mum's were, everything was just mental. We lived in a mental, chaotic life, but we're all banded together to get each other through it. And it was the days when your dad would break into the TV because there was 50 pence pieces that made the TV work, and you were skint and you were needing your tea, but your dads would break into that, and the meters were like, yeah, well, we'll not go into that, but it's real life stuff. And grief hits me really, really hard. When I lost my dad, he was 56, I was 26. And as much as my dad was, you know, I've probably had more education from my dad in terms of what I want to be like and what I don't want to be like, because I've seen it. And it's made me, I think, a really decent mum, and that he's my biggest educator of that. But when he died, for all the shit that had happened in the past and the life that my mum had, I grieved so bad, and it's always just bubbling away on the surface. I hate goodbyes. Like, I done an exchange with a girl in Denmark, and we all met. There was like 25 of us went over to Denmark. I was 16, and we done an exchange, a work placement thing. And we got to know these boys and girls of the same age, and we were writing to each other. We were like pen friends, and they came over and we went over, and then when we were coming away from Viborg in Denmark, just ready to leave, I was inconsolable. And I'll never forget it. And it's saying goodbye, and it's grief, and I don't deal well with it. And so the thought of somebody going, even I've never seen my auntie, I'm going to call her, because that's what she felt like, for years. But I knew she was there, and she knew I was here. And if she ever needed anything, of course, I'd be there in an instant. And it's very, very hard. So I'm going to take time to process this. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm supposed to be going up home to obviously see that Leo's fine with his homework and stuff, but I'm going to get my mum to do that. And I'm going to have to go and process this, take myself off in nature, and just, I have to feel it to get through it. Allow yourself to cry. Allow yourself to go, do you know what, I'm really struggling with the thought of what's just happened, but I have to let it sit with me and process it. Feel it to get through it. And sometimes when you don't allow yourself to feel and you block it out, that's the worst thing you can do. And I've learnt it because I've done that. You block it out. And when you block it out, all you're doing is building it up. And it's stored somewhere in your body. And remember, stress and emotional stress could actually trigger autoimmunity. Your body could start attacking itself because you're building up all the stress in your body. And it maybe comes out as a rash. Or it maybe comes out as you hitting the bottle. You think you're managing your way through it, but actually you're not. You have to feel it and live it and go through it to process and work your way through it. And there's going to be loads of times when this happens to me, and you, unfortunately. And unless we can process and actually learn to manage it, then we're going to be in a heap on the floor somewhere. It doesn't matter how good your meal plan is. Doesn't matter how on the ball Shelley Booth is trying to get into your head. Doesn't matter. If you don't have the coping mechanism to process grief, like I'm just going away to do soon, then there's no intervention that's going to even touch you when things like that happen. And that barrier and that blockage that I was talking about last night, when you start to self-sabotage, that's going to be the thing that knocks you back. And that's not good. So to make you a human being that's ready to capitalise, to maximise, to impact on other people, and to create service and significance and abundance and all that stuff I've talked about, you have to be able to deal with the bad times too, because there's lots of them and they're coming. They're coming for everybody.